from the Frontier Communications Studio. This is West Virginia Tonight. Live from the state capitol, the latest information from towns all across the state. Brought to you from an award-winning team, including your host, Dan Thorn. Now, West Virginia Tonight.
In just a little over 24 hours, the race to be West Virginia's next governor comes to a head. Jim Justice and Bill Cole will debate each other for the first time. As your local election headquarters, we're letting you hear from both men. We're speaking with the candidates in interviews that you'll only see right here on West Virginia Tonight. We begin with Republican nominee Senate President Bill Cole. Cole was first elected to the West Virginia State Senate in 2012. He also owns car dealerships in southern West Virginia and Ashland, Kentucky. Here's what Senator Cole had to say before tomorrow's big debate. All right, let's begin. So you recently tweeted, WV budget, West Virginia budget, is in a $350 million deficit right now because Governor Tomlin didn't want to do heavy lift and intentionally set unrealistic revenue projections. What do you mean by the heavy lifting?
Well, I think the heavy lifting is when we get into the makeup of state government, right-sizing it, streamlining, reforming, whatever you want to call it. But it is the governor that sets the revenue estimates. In last fiscal year that just ended this June 30th, we came up $450 or so million short of his revenue estimate, and fast forward to the fiscal year that we just started in July, fiscal 17, and we're facing the same thing, a too high revenue estimate, and that money likely isn't going to come in, and so we'll be caught just like we were last year, trying to make up the balance.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the things that you want to do. You want to put broadband access across the state. You want to improve roads, and you talk about building more jails for drug dealers. Are those right?
Well, I don't think that I've said build more jails for drug dealers, but certainly I want to send a message loud and clear as part of our drug program that you're not welcome in West Virginia, and if you get caught, we're going to punish you harshly.
Right, but taking a look at these things, you know, even the first two, they're going to run a pretty steep bill. How do you expect to pay for them?
Well, they are. Listen, everything that ails us in West Virginia virtually is fixed by putting people back to work in West Virginia. Less than half of our of-age able-bodied workforce work, 48% workforce participation, and quite frankly, that's just not sustainable. We got to put West Virginians back to work and have them be productive members of society, paying income taxes, consumer sales tax, those things that help government go. So, you know, once we do that, and quite frankly, circling back to the drug program, when you replace hopelessness with hope, you fend off half of the people that find their way down that drug addiction path. They all of a sudden have an incentive or a reason to want to stay clean, dry, or sober.
Let's get to the budget now. You had a special session to address the state's budget. It ended up costing taxpayers a little bit more than $500,000, and that was when the Republicans had control of both the House and the Senate. Assuming you become governor, how do you prevent a messy situation like that happening again? Well,
you start by having a proper revenue estimate. Now, I need to clear the record on this one. First of all, on the third day of a 3-day special session where the legislature pulls the budget together and gives it back to the governor gave us a $92.4 million adjustment. I went to him immediately. Down, you know, less money coming in, and I went to him immediately. I said, "You got to extend the special session." He said, "No, you don't have a plan." It's hard to come up with a plan with 13 hours to go. So he said, "We'll call you back in special session." Then we come back in special session, and again we're dealing with a $270 million shortfall, again generated by an improper revenue estimate by the governor and his people. So it was we were dealt virtually an impossible hand to play, and yet we played it. And then, quite frankly, to add in the political chicanery, my opponent, Jim Justice's right-hand man, his general consultant, Larry Puccio, is actually in caucusing with the House Dems saying, slow it down, slow the budget down as much as you can. It'll make the Republicans look bad. So, you know, we were working against a few headwinds, and I think we dealt with them pretty well.
So you said that you would be finding savings within the Department of Education. You would want to pay teachers more. How do you expect to do that? How are we going to pay our teachers more? Where do you find these savings?
The governor's efficiency audit that he called for in 2012, I believe, noted that West Virginia was one of the most top-heavy education systems in the nation. To me, it's if we refocus those dollars, if we take, instead of a heavy bureaucracy based in Charleston, we repurpose those dollars. I'm not talking about investing less. I'm just saying let's spend it in the right places. I want to focus on the classroom. I want to invert the pyramid instead of the top-heavy. I want to get the focus on two things: our student, our child, the very one that we're failing, and on our teachers. I want it to be on the classrooms, and that calls for investing in our teachers. Our teachers are among the lowest paid in the country, and that's inexcusable. Inexcusable. It's no wonder we can't find enough teachers for the system right now. But we need to also get out of their hair. We need to put teachers in the classroom and let them teach.
Last question for you. In terms of policy, not record, what's the biggest difference between you and Jim Justice? He says jobs, you say jobs. What's the difference?
I'll tell you what, I've been in leadership for 2 years. He's going to say, well, here's a career politician. He hadn't been able to get the job done. I'm going to say that in 2 years, we've done an awful good start. It takes more than 2 years to turn something around. We have decades of Democratic control in this state, and it's gotten us to where we've gotten. So I'd argue that in 2 years, we've done a lot. It does take a governor to move the state the next level forward, to get the over bureaucracy out of the way. But you know, with my opponent, he's already gone in and said he'll roll back the right to work bill that we passed. He'll roll back state prevailing wage, which has saved the taxpayers $22 million in the first 2 months, and he'll roll back legal reforms that have brought our insurance rates down in West Virginia. So he's a throwback to the old guard, and to me, I think the contrasts are there.
All right, still to come here on West Virginia Tonight.
I mean, there's no point in dodging this. I have a real issue with Hillary Clinton.
We hear from Jim Justice on what the result of the presidential election could mean for West Virginia. That's coming up next.